Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. I'm Sarah Meyer, Chief Customer Officer for MTA New York City Transit, and I'm thrilled to be here to announce the new ADA station at Eastern Parkway on the 2 and 3 in Brooklyn. Thank you. This is the 10th ADA project we've finished this year. Just last Thursday, we were at Greenpoint Avenue on the G to announce our ADA upgrades there. And last month, we were at Sunset Park at the 59th Street station. These are major accomplishments we don't take lightly, as accessibility remains a key priority for the MTA. There are 3 new elevators here. We also completed platform enhancements and other improvements at this station to serve a population of people who not only live and work in this area, but who can also enjoy cultural institutions like the Brooklyn Museum and nearby Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Before the pandemic, this station saw an average of more than 4,000 people every weekday swiping in. The museum and the Botanic Garden were instrumental in supporting this project as well as the community at large. Together, there's nothing we can't accomplish. Community Boards 8 and 9 serve the immediate neighborhoods, advocating for elevators at the station, and the MTA was pleased to include it in our ADA stations plan. We want to thank the residents and nearby businesses for their patience, as we all know that construction isn't always the friendliest neighbor. But we all understand the value of its results. It's easy to forget during these challenging times, but at its best, the subway system is about bringing people together across neighborhoods, and in this case, it means including people with physical limitations, as well as moms with strollers and others. Make no mistake, mass transit has the power to bring about greater societal equity and means inclusivity for all populations and all abilities. So first and foremost, I want to thank the MTA Construction Development Team and all the workers behind me, led by Jano Lieber, for their hard work in not only building ADA elevators and ramps, but doing it swiftly, safely, and quickly during this pandemic. I also want to thank our elected officials who have supported this effort for federal funding so we can continue our goal of being fully accessible. We, along with the New York delegation and transit advocates, pursue our plea for funding, or we risk delayed projects and infrastructure maintenance, as well as cuts to service and jobs. We're hopeful that with new leadership in Washington, we're better positioned to receive the funding we need. So thank you again for your support. So now I'd like to introduce Victor Khaleesi, MTA board member and Commissioner of New York City Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, all the MTA workers. I appreciate all your effort. Really important to keep us moving during all these difficult times. Why is it important to have elevators? Well, first of all, it's important for Brooklynites because Brooklyn has the highest number of people with disabilities throughout the 5 boroughs. And it's strategically placed, this elevator, for people to enjoy our cultural institutions, like the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, like the Brooklyn Museum, because people with disabilities want to be part of everything that society has to offer. And all these facilities here are accessible. So having this station here today is so important for that accessibility and the vibrance and culture of our city. And we need to go further, right? Today is the 134th elevator that's in the MTA. There are over 400 stations, and we need to get to accessibility. There's been a bold plan put together with 70 new stations in 5 years. But due to the crisis, we're not going to be able to achieve that. So we need lots of bold and creative ways to do that. Public-private partnerships, rezoning. But we can't do any of that unless we have federal funding to get us to move forward. Federal funding is important. We need it to be able to drive accessibility because accessibility is not just for people with disabilities, it's for everybody. Now, people would say, oh, you're disabled. Yes, I'm disabled. But the only reason I'm disabled is because my environment makes me disabled. Change our environment, we make things accessible, and together we can make New York City the most accessible city in the world. Thank you, MTA.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you, Commissioner. So now I'd like to introduce Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams.
Thank you so much, and I believe the Commissioner really touched on how imperative it is. The real crisis is the crisis of not allowing a substantial number of people in our city, in our borough, the opportunity to appreciate and enjoy this entire borough. We have a disabilities task force in Brooklyn Borough Hall about hearing firsthand from those people who are impacted. There's no reason you should have to map out your life based on you utilizing public transportation to get to and from our cultural institutions, visiting your loved ones and your neighbors. This is a crucial step forward, but it is only the first of many steps. And again, congratulations to the great advocates, community leaders, and all who came together to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borough President. So now I'd like to introduce Ann Pasternak, the Shelby White and Leon Levy Director of the Brooklyn Museum.
Hi. Thank you. And thank you, MTA, for this extraordinary gift to our cultural institutions in our neighborhood. And thank you to all of you who worked to make this happen. So you guys are awesome. We're going to almost miss you at the museum. So I just want to say, MTA, you knew what was happening. You knew what was hot. Central Brooklyn, right here on Eastern Parkway, and you just made the Brooklyn Botanic Garden and the Brooklyn Museum the most accessible cultural institutions in all of New York City. I dare say we're probably the only ones that have a subway right outside of our entrances, and now it's ADA compliant. So we are truly the most accessible cultural institutions, and we are so profoundly grateful for that extraordinary gift. Thank you.
Okay, great. Now I'd like to introduce Adrian benipe, former New York City Parks Commissioner and current president of the Brooklyn Botanic Garden.
Woo, Adrian.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. I am officially a newbie here. I've been working exactly 2 months at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, and I couldn't be happier than to be here. It was really the center, not just of New York City, but of the world. This is the cultural center of the world. We all know that, right, Mr. Borough President? Right. Yes. You know, I was always a Brooklyn wannabe resident, and now at least I spend all my waking hours here. I will also say that I traveled here by subway, not to make a point, but because that's what I do every day. I take the subway here every day, and I want to thank the MTA, because during this pandemic, the subways are clean, they're safe, and they're fast. It's unbelievable, and if you're not in the subways, you should be. It's just I say, like, one of the highlights of my day is taking the subway every day to work. And I mean that, I'm not joking. It is so clean, you could, like, eat off the floor. I wouldn't, but I wouldn't recommend that, but you could. Let me also just say this. Commissioner Khaleesi and I had the great pleasure of working together at the Parks Department. He was in charge of all of our work for people with disabilities. And Victor, I'll call him Victor, may I? Victor was always very good about saying, yes, there is the ADA, and legally we need to meet the standards of ADA. He said, but we really need to go beyond the ADA. We need to make sure that everybody with every level of ability or disability is accommodated. And he really made us stretch our horizons. I want to thank Victor for doing that, because he made me see what it means to be able to disabled in a very different way. And I understand now as I get older that the ability to move around is a transient thing. We will not always have it, and most of us will face some kind of a disability at some time in our life. And there's never been a greater advocate for people with disabilities than this commissioner. Truly a remarkable guy. And let me thank the MTA. This is not easy, this is not cheap, this is bold. And I want to thank you for making it possible for people, for everybody to now get to the Brooklyn Museum, to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, to the Brooklyn Public Library, if you want to skip a stop, Prospect Park, and to the cultural heart of Brooklyn. So thank you very much for doing really a tremendous thing for the entire community of New York City.
Okay, great. So now I'd like to ask if anybody is here from the two community boards that would like to speak. Great. So Mr. Witherbacks?
Good morning. My name is Robert Witherwax. I'm the chair of the Community Board 8 Transportation, Environment and Sanitation Committee and the secretary of the board and a former resident of Eastern Parkway. And I'd like to also add my thanks to the MTA for your good work on this. I'd like to specifically call Andy Inglesby and his work as our liaison with your office. I've known Andy more years than I can count and more years than we've been working on this project. In fact, my first meeting with him was about this elevator project. I was concerned because my daughter was in a stroller and I would love to have had an elevator at the time to bring my daughter up and down with a stroller. Well, she just got admitted to college, so that's good news, but we kind of missed the stroller window. But that's all right. I want to thank you guys on behalf of not only Community Board 8 and all of Central Brooklyn, but specifically the people who live along this avenue in these majestic buildings. These buildings were built because the subway came here and enabled this majestic row of edifices to be erected, and for people, the 4,000 people of us a day who use this subway at least, thank you for bringing this amenity to our community. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We're so thrilled to be here, and thank you everybody for your kind words. There's a couple others that we need to thank. Anthony Fabrizio, the program officer, thank you. Jamin Shah, design manager and program manager. Syed Rizvi, who's the construction administrator, thank you. From the Lero Group, Joseph Bolos, who's the project manager. Also from the Gramercy Group, the contractor, Joseph Castaldo and Scott Krokoff. From the Cultural Row Block Association, Kerba, Louise Trubeck, who's the president. And also from our stations department, Sheila Hudson, who's the DCSM for Brooklyn, and Rolando Hernandez, who's the GSM. This was truly a team effort, and we're just so excited to unveil this station today. And Urban Architect, thank you very much for your help as well. So are there any questions from any reporters in the audience? Okay, great. So thank you, everybody. We hope to see you. We hope to see you taking the elevators and coming to the Brooklyn Museum and the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens soon. Thanks.